And what up, you guys? Welcome back to Pro Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich. Daily uploads to open up my own comic book store. And today I want to talk about options. It has been my experience that the way a business succeeds and functions is that you try to realize what you're trying to do the quickest that you can and in the manner in which you can. For example, with Dirt Dog, before we had the brick and mortar, we had some street vending equipment, and we used to do house parties and like pop-up events and things of that nature. And that's kind of how we really started to get an understanding of what we were doing, and also kind of like finalize the flavors and the recipes that then went on to be the brick and mortar known as Dirt Dog, which is still in existence. And so for Publication, a lot of that's still kind of the same way that I think. It's kind of like, what can I do currently in the context that I am functioning in that is as close to the end goal as I can get. So an example of that is like, I realized that when I had the comic book shop, I was gonna have a dollar bin. And so I started separating some of my comics for that dollar bin that one day would exist in the comic book shop. And I decided, you know what, let me just try to sell these now on TikTok. And man, I started getting hella sales. And so it's one of those things of like, now with the money that we have there, the question becomes, what do you do, right? And it was one of the things that when I got my associates, one of the professors I had, he always talked about that. He says, you want to get into the green, because once you get into the green, you have options, right? Are you going to pay for ads? Are you going to launch a new product? Are you going to buy better equipment? Like, what are you going to do, right, that you think will aid and embed you in what you're trying to accomplish? And so currently I'm in one of those situations, and like I've been in those situations prior, right, where like I made some money, I launched Feral Comics, and I started paying people to participate with the zines, right? Made a little dough, and I went out and I bought a zine vending machine. Made more dough, went and bought the bookbinding equipment, right? And that's just kind of how I've always functioned, of like, whenever there is opportunity for us to pick and choose kind of like what's the next chapter, like I think about it, I really chew it over. The zine vending machine, like, it's gonna find a home, and it's gonna serve its purpose of helping us like just spread out zines more, right? Create a funnel for weird creative art to just get funneled out into the universe, right? The bookbinding equipment is gonna get put to work, and we'll make a video about like what I've been up to on that front later on, but like that's gonna serve its purpose, and the end result will be us manufacturing our own books, right? Now the end goal as well is to have a brick and mortar, have a coffee and comics shop. So the question becomes, with what I have currently, what can I do to push us that way? And again, this is just what I'm thinking. I haven't yet concluded on like what that next move is, but it's good to be in the position that we're in, where like there is traction, there are people that are interested, and now we have a space for more opportunities to present themselves to us. And like for me, this video is less about what I am gonna do and more about that thinking of like what they called a MVP, right? The minimal viable product. It means, what is the product that you can create now that costs you the least and takes the least amount of time, that gets you as close as to the end product that you want, right? And that's kind of what I want to communicate to you guys today. Like, that's how we should always be functioning, right? Because like scaling up is easy once you have a proof of concept, once you kind of have a rhythm and kind of know and understand what you're doing. And I've seen a lot of people that they've spent $5,000 on one comic, right, and they get it mass produced and all that, and then they have this really nice comic, but it's just the one, and then they're stuck. So a lot of startup thinking is that, right? Like, instead of spending the whole bank on the one product, like, how do we spread this out and really see and then scale up what's working? And so right now what's working is the dollar bin, right? The dollar bin issues, like I'm almost sold out of all the comics that I had separated for that. So then the question becomes, now that we know that's working, like how do you scale that up, right? Like what's the next thing that kind of can lead us into or segue into what we are trying to build? And so that's kind of where I'm at. And like, again, it's not necessarily to talk about like what I am gonna do, because I don't even know that yet, but rather that idea of like, for anyone that's trying to build anything, like stop trying to spend the whole bank on the one outing, right? Like test everything out, try it out, and then like what you are able to grab onto, like pull yourself up and build off of that. Because in the end of the day, what I think a lot of people don't understand is that there's a million ways to tell the same story. So then the question isn't what is the right way of telling the story. Like I hear it all the time, like, well, this is what a traditional publishing company looks like. Well, this is what I think a publishing company should do. Well, this is like, cut all that, right? Because if it was as easy as following a formula, then everyone would have done it, right? So then the question is not what is the formula, but rather what is your formula? Like what's your angle? Like what do you grab onto and what do you build off of? And that's kind of where I'm at. So like I said, like it's a good place to be, like to get sales daily and to be able to segue from reselling comics into selling my comics, right? And not only that, but like building brand, right? So like people now are really hitting me up and connecting with me, and again, people have reached out to me for me to do art for them on other projects. Like all that's going to help build Feral Publication. It's going to help us build this independent publishing company that amplifies and empowers marginalized voices and distributes that art far and wide. It's going to help do that. It's going to help us build that coffee and comic shop that we're looking to build. It's going to help us build that third space for people to just be free and creative and really live in community. So it's all good things, you guys. But that's all I wanted to talk about today, man. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Link in the show notes to feralpublication.com where you guys get the stuff that I make. Alright guys, see you tomorrow. Lights.